Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Perez.
And I'm Wesley Long.
And we're bringing you a fresh new take on disaster preparedness.
Welcome to Disaster Class.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Disaster Class. I'm Jason Perez.
And I'm Wesley Long.
And Wesley, you know what that sound means.
Absolutely. Class is in session.
Class is in session. Well, you know, Wesley, we talk a lot about, obviously preparing for disasters. And a big part of that is staying informed of potential hazards.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to be discussing emergency alerts today. And so we're very excited to welcome Justin Singer, a program analyst for stakeholder engagement, and Jody Smith, a project manager for IPAWS Technical Support Services. They join us from Fema, working specifically with IPAWS. Justin and Jody, welcome very much to Disaster Class. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So we see your nice little display in the back, IPAWS. So maybe we can start off. What exactly is IPAWS? And what does it stand for?
Sure. I guess I'll start with why it was created, and then I'll pass to Jody for exactly what is IPAWS.
Sure.
Love it.
IPAWS, the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, has its roots back in 2006 when then President George Bush signed Executive Order 13407. That directed the Secretary of Homeland Security to develop a comprehensive system to alert and warn the American people, while also maintaining the ability for the president to communicate with the American people during a catastrophic event. The onus then came on Fema to develop that system. Again, that was back in 2006. Not long after that executive order was passed, the WARN Act was passed by Congress, which, I quote, ordered us to voluntarily develop a national alert system to provide a public communication system capable of alerting the public on national, regional, or local basis to emergency situations requiring a public response. Okay.
So what in the world is all of that?
That's a mouthful.
That's a bit. Yeah.
And then there's subsequent policies that, so we're not just doing this for our health, but what Justin just said is FEMA was directed to develop a comprehensive system in answer to that executive order he just discussed and the WARN Act. And that's what IPAWS is. No, it has nothing to do with pets. We do get asked that question. It is an integrated system. If you think of it this way, it's the modernization to the old legacy emergency alert system. We're all familiar with that. The noise that interrupts TV, it interrupts radio. That was our emergency alert system, the nation's emergency alert system since I think the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Introduced now, technology, internet, IP-based systems, cell phones now that are smartphones like little computers, and alert and warning functionalities needed to catch up to the technologies. So FEMA developed IPAWS. We still, of course, we maintain IPAWS, and it allows our federal, state, tribal, local, and territorial users throughout the country to send one simultaneous alert to multiple communication pathways. And what this does, and very importantly, it increases and broadens the reach to the American public. So instead of just relying on that antiquated emergency alert system, radio and TV, folks now are able to get alerts on your cell phones through different pathways, communication pathways that I'll talk about in just a couple minutes. In addition to IPAWS, the system that we maintain, we also have this facility here that we're in today recording this podcast called the Technical Support Services Facility. I may have mixed those two up, but you get the idea. Why? Well, we had a lot to answer to with the public. As we get more users, folks have asked for a 24/7 support. That's what we are. We're a 24/7 operational center. We're here to assist our alerting authorities. And when I say alerting authorities, those are the approved agencies with the capability to utilize IPAWS. And I think Justin's going to talk about that here in a couple of minutes.
Gotcha.
Here, we help them troubleshoot alerts. We help them with errors. We help educate. We help train. Very importantly, we help and assist with exercises and drills. Something that's lacked for quite a long time in the emergency management world, but something that's very important so that you're ready, you're prepared when that event happens. We're staffed with some great folks here. I think we're up to 22 individuals. Their backgrounds vary, which gives us a wealth of knowledge and experience. We do have IPAWS subject matter experts. We have folks with emergency management background and public safety, dispatch, and IT background. So you can see that we come with a lot of experiences here so that we can get together and provide the best assistance possible.
I think
awesome.
Well, I guess we're going to get into how alerts were sent.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, if we just had what you said was a lot of information. Right?
That was massive.
But so essentially, and just for our listeners, so this is a modern system for issuing alerts, and you pointed out a great example of like the old school way of doing it, where it's like it interrupted your TV program or the radio. We're all familiar. Well, I guess maybe the young ones don't know these days, the kids, that sound. But really, we think about there was the need for that too, because just to the point of how technology has changed.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is if your TV wasn't on at the time.
Yeah. Or your radio
wasn't on at the time. And now, like you mentioned, Jody, we've got cell phones, we've got smartphones, which are pretty much connected to us all the time. So it only makes sense to integrate them into the warning system so that we can actually reach folks when something happens, so individuals can stay informed, right? We talk about that in our class. You got to stay informed, right? You can have the best bug out bag in the world, you can have the best emergency action plan in the world, but if you don't know something is happening, you won't know when to enact all of those plans that you've already been put into practice. So obviously being informed is super important. So super valuable.
And how many people are actually watching TV and listening to radio these days? Right. Everyone's doing the streaming or have their cell phones, like you said.
Yeah. So I guess that moves to that question then. So how can we receive these alerts, right? What are some of the ways that we receive them? We talked a little bit about cell phone, but NOAA radio, internet based, there's a lot of different options. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, on how we receive alerts and what they look like?
Sure. So IPAWS, there's 3 primary pathways or channels, communication pathways is what we call them. One being the wireless emergency alerts. So this allows your public safety official to issue an alert that's going to show and present on your cell phone. Very important because, like you just said, we don't leave our cell phones anywhere. We also they're still allowed to use the emergency alert system, interrupt radio and TV. Of course, WIAs are mostly used, correct? Everybody wants to use the wireless emergency alert system, and also NOAA weather radios. People still use those in rural areas and rely on them. So they also have that capability to send a non-weather message to a NOAA weather radio. Most importantly, you just mentioned IP technologies. What we've seen an uptick here at IPAWS is all of these IP-based systems that are now pulling alerts from IPAWS. I don't know if you're aware of that. I think we're up to 130 different systems or technologies that redistribute the information. Those could be digital signage. A big one's Lamar billboards is actively displaying, right? Very important.
Yeah.
What else? Desktop alerting. Cell apps. We can just keep on a braille reader, kiosks, and it just keeps growing. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
It is very exciting. And that's all to amplify alerting, broaden that reach, get it out there so more people are aware. The secret sauce to IPAWS, though, is that it's based on broadcast technology. Okay. It's not a wireless emergency alert is not an SMS text message. A lot of folks get confused with that. The secret to broadcast and the benefit is that we don't experience network congestion. Like when we had the earthquake here in Maryland years ago, I don't even remember what year that was, but nobody could text message because of the congestion. Or you would receive a second message in with older phones first before the first message. We don't experience that with wireless emergency alerts.
What about when we did the national test in 2018? That alert went nationwide. We think around 225 million cell phones got it, but on average within 10 seconds after
very fast
after the button was pressed.
Wow. That's real time.
That's incredible.
That's real time communication.
And we think in a local case, I'm sorry, but we think in a local case around 4 to 5 seconds.
Wow.
When an emergency manager hits send, it will arrive on the public cell phone.
Wow.
Yes. And the benefit is that you don't need to opt in for this. We all have our local alerting authority or public safety officials that have a mass notification system. They all have it. You need to opt in, subscribe to receive those text messages from them. With wireless alerts, you don't need to opt in. So the benefit, if you're think of it this way, if you're on vacation or you're driving out of town, if you're connected to a cell tower and an event's going on in that area and that public safety official issues a wireless alert, you're going to receive it. So that's a big benefit. I always, with talking to folks, especially in tourist areas, that you need to think about that. So
and that alert will say you're not there in a tornado warning zone when the alert is sent, but you would drive into that area maybe 10 minutes later. You will get that alert when it's rebroadcast. The tower will keep reissuing that alert to catch anyone that.
You're right, for the duration of the alert, for new people moving into the area.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, of course, me and Wesley we've taught about IPAWS in our class, but just to get the behind the scenes background of all the tech, it's a lot more in depth than I had that we had originally.
Yeah, we were already geeking out, liking it, and now this is just like
it's pretty
even
cool.
better.
So we talked about you talked about the WEA alerts, wireless emergency alerts, NOAA weather radio. Can you give us like and I think most people are probably familiar with the WEA alert now, wireless emergency alert. But I know, can you give like an example of like how that appears in a phone or what they can expect to see when that type of alert comes over?
So the wireless emergency alert, it does come with a special tone, and that's for a reason. It's meant to get your attention. Mm-hmm. People need to realize, folks out here, that everyday person and out. When you get this alert, public safety doesn't just use this system randomly or they wait. That's usually a heightened event, and then they want to get your attention. They want to tell you something's going on. Good news that today the majority of phones out there support 360 characters. When we started the system, we were limited to 90 characters, and that's a little tough. That burdened our emergency management folks out there with cutting information down and making it understandable in 90 characters and trying not to use acronyms that only local folks to that area would understand. So now we have 360. And folks have also adopted including URLs and phone numbers that are all clickable. Right. And that's great for ambers, for missing and endangered folks, or evacuation routes, because you can now go to either, wherever they're hosting the information and get that additional information or that image. Yeah. So we're really coming along with these wireless alerts.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's like the classic example that I like to give. It's like the Amber Alert, because that's a common one, and that we've exposed, like, you're at a restaurant and then every single person's phone is going off with that little unique tone. And it's like, that is a classic example of a wireless emergency alert.
Yeah. So I have this question then. So you've mentioned it a little bit. So who exactly has the ability to issue these alerts? Who is the one that's pressing that button?
Right. So I guess we'll start with, it's not IPAWS. It's not anyone at IPAWS. It's not anyone at Fema.
Right.
At least with the exception of that national test in 2018. We have about 1,700 users across the country.
Wow.
What is a user? Mainly public safety agencies, emergency management agencies. There's some sheriff's departments. There's some police departments. There's some airports, universities, tribal nations. But out of the 1,700, I would say around 1,500 local agencies. So this might be a county emergency management agency. Where I live in Maryland, the Anne Arundel County Emergency Management Agency is an authorized user. There's also around 80 state agencies. There's one for every state. So we have one agency in every state that can alert the entire state. Some states have more than one agency. That's how we get to 80.
Gotcha.
State police.
State police
is a large user, right?
Gotcha. So you guys have created the framework, the network, and then you have licensed basically people that can then utilize that network that you guys have set in place.
Correct.
Right.
Gotcha.
Our biggest user would be the National Weather Service.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that issue the flash flood warnings, the tornado warnings, hurricane warnings. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for Amber Alerts, and the United States Geological Survey for early earthquake warning.
which is really interesting. That's built off of, I don't know if you're aware of this. So USGS created this system based off of seismic threshold.
Mhm.
It's an automatic system for the early earthquake warning. It's only available on the West Coast. That's California, Oregon, and Washington. But it's extremely fast. It's like within 4 seconds that sensors detect that seismic threshold and boom, the phones are going off.
Automatically. Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's really a cool system.
Wow, that is
We also have 8 tribal nations on board. We're working hard to increase that. Of course, our territories.
What's a territory?
Oh, Puerto Rico and United States Virgin Islands.
Gotcha.
And DC?
And DC.
And
We
DC,
do
yeah.
consider DC still a territory.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we're our coverage is about 85% of the population of the United States right now. We're working hard on an initiative that we call Closing the Gap.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at a map, we have an adoption map, and the green is always on the outside, and you get towards the middle, more rural areas. It's not a surprise that those haven't adopted yet. So we're really our initiative this year has really been hard hitting those folks, letting them know ways that they can provide information to the public. We know that it can be a cost burden because they do need to purchase the software that provides the capability to send an IPAWS alert. But a lot of folks don't realize that they can share those responsibilities with neighboring counties. They could have a regional capability. There are grants out there. So these are the things that, as we've evolved, we've now been on the road teaching a lot of folks, or making them think outside of the box on alert and warning.
No, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Even IPAWS isn't out telling people you need to sign up for the system, and one of the reasons is, again, there are costs with the software to use it. But so these agencies are participating voluntarily. I just wanted to make that.
Right, but they see the benefit.
Yeah.
Remember,
absolutely.
they want to broaden that reach. When we first started IPAWS, when we released wireless emergency alerts back in 2012, folks were getting what is this noise? Why am I getting this? I don't want it. Now today, with all of the wildfires, the tornadoes, everything that's been going on, people are asking now, why didn't I get this alert?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
How come I'm
that has
not
benefited our jobs with outreach, especially Justin's group, with getting the public up to speed. And now the agencies are, doing marketing campaigns and outreach campaigns to inform the public. And that's important.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
the American people
100%.
understand the system and why it's there, and don't disable those wireless alerts.
Correct.
In cases we're seeing people expect to get an alert. If they don't get it, they might not take action. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a real important point, because it's like creating the awareness that this exists, because one of the things we talk about in our class was the case study of the Oroville Dam incident back in California a few years ago. And, they used IPAWS to issue alerts for that. And so one of the things is, like, for the population to understand and recognize when these alerts come through, that there's an action they need to do. They need to recognize that this is,
Actionable
this is
item.
something they need to act on.
Yeah.
So maybe here's a question. How does just an everyday person recognize, like, when this alert comes through? We kind of mentioned that unique tone, but is there anything, because I think sometimes people are just kind of a little leery when something pops up on their phone. Is this a scam? Is this legit? So how can they recognize an IPAWS alert when it comes through that this is legitimate and they need to take action on? Yeah.
So definitely the tone. I think that public safety with some phones, if you have public safety enabled, so in 2019, let me back up for a second. When we started IPAWS with the wireless system, we only allow for imminent threats, emergency messaging. That means, life or property is threatened. Everyone's afraid to push the button. That's what we're here for with this facility, to train and help these folks with getting comfortable with it. But in 2019, we allowed for public safety category. And some phones allow that just to vibrate. But the look on the phone, and I don't have a picture of it behind us, but you will know that it's a wireless alert coming through IPAWS, one with a tone, but it also will say emergency alert. We do train our folks, our alerting authorities out here, to include in their messaging what is going on, what is the hazard, where is it going on? And don't use acronyms, don't get too granular, but where is it going on? Use landmarks if you have to. What to do, protective action. That's the most important thing. And who's sending it? because folks want to receive, they want it to be a resource that they're familiar with, a trusted resource,
Correct.
if you will.
Yep.
Yep.
There's no surprise in milling, and that folks are going to go look for confirmation of that alert. That's one of the benefits, though, of using IPAWS and with mass notification. So if you think of a mass notification system, that's usually the start of what an emergency management agency is going to use to notify the public, and then it goes from there. If it gets up to IPAWS, that means they're probably using all of their tools in their toolbox.
Right.
So you may get that alert, you may get a text message, and it's going to say text is SMS or the sender, I think at the top, the agency.
Right.
You may get the wireless alert. It may be on radio and TV. You may hear a siren go off. That's all on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So that people take action quicker.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the importance is recognizing it and then acting on it.
Yep.
So that actually leads to a question I really want to ask and I want to know about. Do you have any stories or case studies, real life examples of how this has actually impacted real people? Any success stories that you'd want to share?
Oh, geez. So I guess I could start with some stats just to show how many there really are. Just in 2021, there was about 7,000 wireless emergency alerts that were sent across the United States, and around 700 messages on the emergency alert system, so TV and radio interruption. So,
Wow.
like Jody mentioned, if an emergency manager is setting an IPAWS alert, it's a pretty high level of severity. So just think 7,000 times that level was reached.
Wow.
I guess we could say, it's hard to pick any specific one. In total, there's been 123 children recovered from an Amber Alert because someone received that alert on their cell phone, whether they saw the car or the child. In some cases, the abductor even got the alert themselves and turned themselves in. So we definitely always want to talk about that there's been 123 children. That's amazing.
Significant.
That is significant.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And of course, the wildfires, as that picks up, folks have really gotten savvy with how they're going to use their evacuation zones and wireless alerts to get people out, let them know that they need to move quickly and now. Tornadoes, a few months ago, Kentucky, I think it was Kentucky, the Kentucky tornado that the folks were awoken in the night by the tones, and they were thankful. They were not complaining as much anymore because their house was destroyed. It was completely leveled.
I think a tree landed on their bed, which they were in.
Right.
And they were out of the bed because of the IPAWS alert.
Exactly.
Right.
Huge.
Exactly. Got out of the house.
Huge.
We had the weather alert. The weather system sent the tornado warning. So,
Right.
Missing persons. I think everybody silver alerts. There's so many different golden alerts. I can't think of all the different colors, but we've seen a lot of usage of the system with the missing and endangered folks. That's good to see.
Yeah.
COVID, although a really horrible thing, did we see how many alerts? How much? I think it was like a 75% jump from 2019 to 2020 in messaging because of the stay-at-home orders and civil unrest, et cetera. One interesting use was New York City, and this was, I think, last summer.
Yeah, so last summer in New York City, it was during the middle of a heat wave. The power system was on the verge of a blackout. Just entire city blocks were going to lose power. So emergency management agency in New York City, they had to do something, or the problem was going to get worse. So they sent a wireless emergency alert out to, I want to say, was it the entirety of New York City, or maybe it was just a borough?
I think it was just some of the boroughs. I can't recall.
Asking people to reduce their power consumption, just turn down the thermostat a little bit, and it worked. Within an hour, they saw, and this is going to be like 4 or 5 o'clock at the peak of the heat. Within an hour, they saw the drain on their system go down, and they avoided a total blackout because of that alert.
That's so funny you say that because I remember that alert coming through.
So Jason's a first responder in New York City.
Yeah, so I work EMS in New York City, and so I remember that alert coming through. So an excellent example. And it's like the versatility that it can be used for a variety of scenarios too is amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Exactly. We'd like to say all emergencies are local, right? And so if your local emergency management official decided to send it, they have very good reason to do that.
Yeah.
Just like last month, the county in Colorado, outside of the fires, was experiencing avian bird flu with poultry, and called, and he crafted an excellent message. And he said, I have to get this out to the farmers right away. We don't have time to call each of them. Wow. And he used wireless emergency alerts, which turned out to be really effective.
Wow.
So people are getting more creative, that's for sure. Of course, we don't recommend people use it as our customer support branch chief says, a super tweet. Right. Because we don't want it for everything, because you don't want people that alert fatigue. You don't want them to disable the service. Correct. So, but like Justin just said, that it's a local decision. We don't set the criteria for folks. It's based off local hazards. Yep. I tell you, for New York City to issue that alert last summer, that was something, because New York City doesn't issue a wireless emergency alert easily.
Yeah.
Wow. Really cool.
So, I mean, you guys are doing like incredible work.
Yeah.
It's very clear this system is saving lives.
Oh, 100%.
And you guys are working to facilitate that. So just kudos to you guys and for the important work that you're doing with this really critical system that's just helping so many.
That's funny, because we don't joke about this, but it is the truth. How many full-time government employees do we have in our office, Justin?
20.
There's only like 22 of us. And when we look at what we do across the nation, yeah, we don't realize it. Thank goodness for our contracting staff who help us out so much.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess we have one last question. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about IPAWS, about the product, about what you guys are doing for outreach? This is your chance to this is our catch-alls. Is there anything else that you guys came in here ready to talk about and we forgot to ask or whatever? Anything?
So, hey, I'll say something. So, I think everybody in the United States probably knows what IPAWS is. They don't know what it's called, right? I mean, we've all gotten, well, I don't know if that's entirely true, but most of us have probably gotten a wireless emergency alert, or at least know that emergency alert system that are interrupting on TV and radio. But the word behind that is the integrated public alert and warning system. And just to simplify it a little bit, and I'm learning something new every single day with IPAWS. Emergency managers identifying a hazard or a situation that they need to notify the public. Typing up a message, hitting send, that's where we come in. It gets to IPAWS. We authenticate them, make sure that they're able to use the system, make sure that their location is a location they're approved for, and a situation or hazard that they're approved for. But all that's done so quickly, and within a matter of seconds, we push that out to our private sector partners. And again, just to reiterate, 60 plus cell phone carriers for wireless emergency alerts, every single TV and radio station, broadcast TV and radio station in the United States, NOAA weather radios, and like Jody mentioned, about 130 private industry partners that are consuming those alerts and pushing them out too. So emergency manager to IPAWS to the public within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate to the public that I know that sometimes your phones, you're receiving these alerts and you're nowhere near the action of what's going on. Technology is catching up. We are working desperately, not us personally, FEMA, because we're prepared for it, but the cell carriers are broadcasting these alerts, and the newer phones have the capability of constraining that alert a lot closer and presenting it to you only if you're in that area of the alert. There's still the older phones. I still have a 7S, an iPhone 7S, that's going to get what we call a bleed over. It's going to receive alert that I may not even be near the situation. But don't disable them, because like Justin said, your public safety officials, they're scared, sometimes nervous to push the button to use the system. So if they're sending that alert, they're doing it on purpose.
There's a reason. And then
one other thing, I do want to put a plug in for all of the emerging technologies out there. Justin and I went out to CSUN back, I don't remember when, which is accessibility conference. We are seeing a lot of the accessibility, different technologies that are coming along that are now going to want to pull the IPAWS alerts. So stay tuned for all of that. We're even working with a couple of car manufacturers for the infotainment systems.
Nice.
To carry alerts. It's kind of interesting, and exploring smart cities and smart homes. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
If you go down to Baltimore City right now, they have a kiosk on, I'm going to say every corner. Those are connected to IPAWS. So if there's something going on in Baltimore City.
Yeah, very important for Ambers.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
It'll be exciting to see how the technology just keeps progressing and advancing. So that's awesome. One other question, where can people go to for any resources, any way to kind of keep updated and in tune to what's going on with IPAWS? Where are some resources that we can point them towards?
Our main resource is the FEMA website. So that's fema.gov/IPAWS, fema.gov/IPAWS. We put as much information up there as possible. Everything's public knowledge. We don't have any secrets at IPAWS.
Cool.
I think that's a great place to be able to learn more about IPAWS and to even connect with us. We have a phone number up there.
And also go to your local agency's websites and Facebook pages. They've really come along, and their Twitter accounts. They rely on social media now. They had to adopt it. People go to social media, but reach out to your local agencies. Become familiar with what type of alerts they're going to send.
Yeah, that's an excellent plug. And, we talk, Shirley, about the importance of that is being connected with their local officials is so important and so crucial to people with staying informed and on top of things. So that's definitely an excellent plug for our listeners. But
we actually maintain that list, Jason, on our website of who is connected to IPAWS. So if you're, if you're in a county or state and just want to see who has the ability to use IPAWS, leverage IPAWS in your state, just type your state name in, and every agency in that state will come up.
Wow.
You can search by county too.
Very cool. Well, Justin and Jody, thank you guys so much for coming on Disaster Class. We really enjoyed hearing your insight and all the background on what the work you're doing. Again, just can't say it enough. You guys are doing really important, life-saving work. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Disaster Class is brought to you by Instinct Ready, whose mission is to educate, prepare, and equip individuals, households, and families for disasters through quality education and premium products. Use promo code DISASTERClass at instinctready.com for 10% off site-wide.
So before we conclude this episode of Disaster Class, Wesley, as always, there is homework.
Yes, always there's homework. So we're asking you guys, as usual, to make sure you like and subscribe to Disaster Class. Leave us that 5-star rating. Give us a thumbs up, and please comment on something that maybe you learned on the show, maybe some experience you had or something that you appreciated from this episode.
And as always, if you have a question, you have a preparedness tip, a disaster story to share, send us an email at disasterclass@instinctready.com or drop us a message on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. And doing so will put you in a running to be featured on the show and win some cool stuff. So thank you all for listening to this episode of Disaster Class. Stay educated,
stay prepared,
and stay equipped. We'll see you next time.